for all that information. All right, viewers, now we are moving on to some other stories coming our way. In the NEET UG paper leak case, the Supreme Court today passed over the matter. This means that the bench will not hear the case in the morning session and will take it up later in the day. The apex court is expected to hear the petitions related to the alleged irregularities and the paper leak in the NEET UG 2026 examination during the subsequent sitting. Several important petitions seeking cancellation of the exam, re-examination and systemic reforms in the National Testing Agency are pending before the court. So now we know that the Supreme Court was all set to hear a bunch of petitions. These dealt with, in fact, the paper leak case. It also dealt with a rehaul of the National Testing Agency, and also how they sought a re-examination which was computer based and court monitored in this entire NEET UG 2026. So the Supreme Court was all set to hear the case today. However, they passed on the matter, which means that they will now hear it in another session later in the day. This was scheduled for the morning session, remember, but they have passed over the matter, and now it will be taken up in the later in the day. So these were several important petitions seeking cancellation of the exam. They sought re-examination for the people who had suffered a setback because of the leak, and also systemic reforms in the National Testing Agency. So these were a bunch of petitions that the Supreme Court in fact was hearing. Remember that earlier when the Supreme Court had heard this NEET case, they had reprimanded the NTA, and they had stated that the NTA has not learnt its lessons over the past many years when they had been seeing such complaints, or when there were allegations of cheating and leaks in this case. So the Supreme Court had reprimanded the National Testing Agency, and now they will in fact look at this case later in the day today. These are very important petitions that have been filed in the NEET UG 2026 examination. Let me go across to my colleague Sambhav Sharma, who is with us on this news. Sambhav, we are getting to know that the Supreme Court has passed over the matter. Take us through the details.
The bench in the court number 5 will have to hear this matter, the NEET UG paper leak case, where Federation of All India Medical Association and other petitioners have moved the Supreme Court challenging the authority of NTA to conduct the examination, and asking to dissolve this particular body, NTA, National Testing Agency, and instead of NTA, come up with some autonomous body, is what the petition is. And now, as of now, the matter has been passed over, which means that the Supreme Court will hear this matter later in the day. The matter is before the two-judge bench of the Supreme Court, and the two-judge bench will hear this case today itself, because it is listed as per the cause list before Justice P.S. Narasimha and Justice Alok Aradhi. And this is what is the development from the Supreme Court. The top court will hear the matter today, but as of now, it's passed over. On the other hand, another important developments are from the Rouse Avenue Court, where Central Bureau of Investigation are producing different accused in this particular case and before the special CBI court in the Rouse Avenue Court in the National Capital. There also CBI is seeking demand of different accused who are being produced, and the CBI is investigating the case. And one very important thing CBI said inside the courtroom in the Rouse Avenue Court, that bottom to top approach is what they are, in making the investigation towards. And few more accused will have to be arrested in this case, is what CBI has hinted. So these are the developments from the National Capital, two important courts, one from Rouse Avenue Court and another from the top court of the country. The Supreme Court will hear the case because earlier on the last date of hearing, the Supreme Court two-judge bench has sought reply of the NTA and also the central government. Now it is to be seen what the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta will have to say before the Supreme Court when the matter is taken up by the two-judge bench.
Right, Sambhav. If I can request you to please stay on with us. We are trying